Special shout out to our sponsor, Qualia. Qualia is the category-creating digital closing platform used by thousands of lenders across the country to seamlessly work with their title and escrow partners. By working better together, Qualia is powering lenders to deliver a differentiated closing experience for their clients. Through real-time communications, closing status updates, and workflow management, Qualia brings lenders together with home buyers and sellers, title and escrow agents, and real estate agents for a secure and seamless closing experience. Qualia is proud to have been awarded the Housing Wire Tech 100 Award for real estate, as well as CB Insights FinTech 250 Award. Discover how you can work more efficiently with your title and escrow partners at qualia.com/innovators. That's QUALIA.com/innovators.
Well, hello, everyone. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the Mortgage Innovators Podcast, where we deliver fresh and hopefully entertaining insights on all things mortgage and the innovation propelling the mortgage industry forward. My name is Sue Woodard, and every Tuesday, you can find our rotating group of co-hosts who all share their own very unique connection to the industry. And today, I am thrilled to have my co-host, Michael Guidotti, here with us today. How you doing, Michael?
Hey, Sue.
Glad you are here, and we are joined by another very special guest today, CEO and co-founder of Sales Boomerang, a man who needs no introduction, Alex Kutsishin.
Wow, beautiful. Well, what a wonderful introduction it was. Thank you for having me.
How did I do with the pronunciation, Alex?
You did fantastic. You know, I always tell people, look, if when in doubt, just say Alex from Sales Boomerang. But you know what, Sue, you have mastered getting my last name right, so it's awesome. Thank you.
I've worked on it. I actually remember, I think it was sometime last year, you did something with your own team on LinkedIn. I remember a video, like a competition to see if they actually knew how to say your last name.
This is true, and everyone failed.
I noticed that. Like from your home country, failed himself, you know. So,
that's right.
You know,
yes.
What are you going to do? And hey, Alex, I'm so grateful. Michael and I are both super grateful to have you join for this session. Forewarning everyone that Alex is joining us from an airport, which is where you can find him a lot of times these days. Which airport are you at, by the way?
I'm at BWI getting ready to fly into Atlanta for the NAMBA conference.
Delightful, and we'll be seeing you there tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
Yeah.
But I say that in case there is any announcements or so forth. We told Alex you just roll with it, and we'll make it a part of the show. So we're glad to have you. So Michael and I have been talking a little bit about what the conversation that we wanted to have today. And this whole podcast is about technology. It's about innovation and kind of where the industry is going. Obviously, the industry is going through some shifts, like everything else in our life, right? But the industry is going through obviously some changes, some shifts. Volume is coming down a bit. It's going to become more competitive. There's going to be a little bit, some competition for those customers. And I think there's been a lot of attention now that's starting to focus on how do we really start to develop, those connections with our borrowers, our customers. Now it's not just about like, hey, you're lucky enough that we're going to be able to, get you locked in and maybe closed at some point. Now, as we shift to purchase, it's kind of, we've got a lot of refinance muscle memory, and we've got to go back to saying, hey, purchase is really, really different. And so we really want to talk about like the technologies that enable really great communication and really great connections between humans. So I don't know, Michael, I want to turn to you first and just kind of get, your thoughts and perspectives on the topic, and then let's kick off the conversation with Alex to get his insights.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to your point, Sue, I think, it is really understanding how we're going to leverage, the technology in such a competitive space, and really the life story, the life cycle of your relationships with your borrowers. I think up to this point, we've heard a lot and had a lot of conversations around the point of sale technologies or the in loan process technologies. But I think now taking a little bit of a step back and looking, almost, on the post-close side, and, what are you doing as far as, what technologies are you using to really enhance those life journeys of your relationships with your clients? And I think to your point, Alex, perfect person to speak to that. That's really one of his many areas of expertise that I think we can learn a little bit from.
Absolutely. So, Alex, on that note, tell us what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are your thoughts on kind of what's happening right now?
So Renee Rodriguez, who you all may know, is a coach of mine for improving my stage presence, my communication cadence, the sequencing of information. And one of the things that he taught me is that when you're on stage, do not fill space with nonsense. Don't just talk for talking's sake. And that translates very well into this conversation. Moving forward, actually not moving forward, it should have been yesterday, but today and moving forward, if you are opening your mouth, you're sending an email, you're putting something in the mail, make it valuable. If it's not valuable, don't do it. If you're sending a text, if you're sending an email, if you're engaging with the consumer in any way, shape, or form, if it's not valuable for the consumer, don't waste their time. That is the biggest difference that we're seeing personally from everything we're sort of observing out there, is that people just they want to talk to someone about the things that are valuable to them, and they want to hear from someone when there is something that they can take away from the conversation or a product that's being offered. And so we see way too much spam style communication, spam style outreach, where the value isn't there. And then because we're having this compressing market, because the number of customers, and let's really define compressing market, the number of people that may need or want your service is shrinking, not because their desire is shrinking, but because the opportunity for them to take advantage of what you have is, the number of people who can take advantage of the opportunity is just getting smaller. So if you are going to have a chance, right, if you're going to have a chance to reach out and communicate to someone, one of the most important things that I can say and share with everyone here, only do it when it's valuable. And I'm gonna just repeat it again. Don't fill in space with noise, because you don't have many chances to be heard. One of the things that our lenders that we work with tell us so often is, Alex, we just need a chance to be heard. Michael, you and I have had this conversation several times, but they need a chance to be heard. So if you're getting that chance, remember, because there's such a small number of people now, when you get that chance, make it count. Make it count. Make it valuable. Make sure that you are adding value in every breath. And this is Renee's teaching. With every breath, you're adding value, and not just once in a while. So just from a high level, before we dive into tech and all that, just want to start the conversation with that. Add value with every breath.
I think it's a great place to start it from, because I think, to your very good point, especially when you think about digital communications. I read a stat the other day that people actually have more information and messages to try to process and filter through now in a 24-hour period, more than somebody in the 18th century had in their entire lifetimes, right? And so if you happen to capture that attention and you have an audience with someone, say something that's got meaning. Michael, your thoughts on that interesting point that Alex kicked us off with?
I think it's such a good starting place, because I think all of us can think of the things that hit our email inboxes that are just what he said, which is spam. And what do we very quickly do? We either delete it, or I set up rules to automatically put certain things in a certain folder, because I know that it's not adding value and I don't have time, nor do I want to read it. So I don't think that he could have started in a better spot than where he did, because all the technology pieces, again, they're only going to take what we're giving them. So starting with, how does this tech add value to my relationship with my client is, I think it's spot on, man.
So Alex, dig into that. What are you finding when you're saying, hey, if we know we've got this precious attention and this precious time that we really want to honor with the, either people in our database or, customers that are reaching out, prospects that are reaching out, what kinds of things are you seeing that are really getting attention and making good use of that time and providing value?
So, that's a really big question. There's many ways we can approach that question. So if we're just looking at, hey, what is that thing that I as a consumer want to hear about? we first have to understand, do we understand our consumer? To be able to add value, this is what's interesting, right? We've had this conversation many times in general, but I'll bring it all up again here. It's when you can't advise, right? And remember, this industry was really proud, and there are many of us in this industry that are truly focused on advice and consulting. But, and this is a big but, you can't advise or consult unless you know what you're advising or consulting on. And a consumer is not created equal. A home is not created equal. Let's go even further. Every loan is not created equal. There are nuances. So the first thing you have to understand is your customer, right? So the first thing you need to understand is what will be valuable to them. If I start to talk about how to take advantage of a jumbo loan product to someone that is nowhere near being in a jumbo loan, then I'm once again just filling space, trying to push somebody into an area that maybe I've been asked to do more of, right? Hey, let's sell more of this jumbo product, as we know jumbo is coming back in a big way. But if I'm a customer that could not and will not do that type of loan, you've not just wasted your resource, you've also really lost me as a customer to go, you get me, and so you're giving me what I need, right? And so the first thing to kind of to start down this path of your question is to be able to give people things of value. You got to understand what's valuable to them, and so it's investing in your understanding of your customer base, your database. Who's in my database? Why are they there? How long have they been there? What was the last transaction like? What's happening in their life? Has something changed? Has something changed that I could have an impact on positively? Has something changed that could impact them negatively? What is happening with my customer base? And by the way, once you understand your customer base, you can also start to understand your prospects. There are many look-alike customers out there, right? So understanding what you own, what you have in-house, is going to help you look outwardly and be able to communicate that same type of message that resonates. Remember, there are a lot of people in similar scenarios. So once you understand yourself and your audience that's already in existence, then you can position that better for future prospects, leads, referrals, and opportunities like that. So I would say, to get the ball rolling, it's understanding who your customer is and what's important to them.
Right.
And so, there's many technologies that help us do this, right? So one, I'll give a shout out to HomeBot here. HomeBot does a great job helping connect the consumer to the lender and align their interests by aligning the information. You both see the same things. You can both talk to the same things. Of course, I would not be doing Sales Boomerang a service if I didn't put us in the mix. We're a borrower intelligence company, so we specifically give you the information to give you reasons to talk that are all value-based, right? So those are the types of technologies that are very important to look at. I'll give another shout out to a company called Capacity. If you guys haven't heard about Capacity, definitely look into them. They have really improved the way that our loan officers and teams, where they spend their time and the value add time that they're doing instead of, again, wasting time. So just since technology is part of the conversation, here's a few for everyone to think about.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a great point. You just said about saving time, not just for consumers and honoring their time, but also for our employees. That's a big deal too, right? And
yes,
you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. Michael, talk about that a little bit, about how you're handling that at APM. Like, how are you knowing your customer? You've got a lot of them. And so how are you actually doing that successfully?
Well, it kind of worked out perfect because all three of those are ones that we're actually partnered with here at APM. So, but I think it is. There's just so many technologies out there now that are starting to help bridge that gap. And again, I think creating that thicker bond that's relational and not just transactional. And I think to Alex's point, with something where it's giving your client a drip campaign, typically, and they're getting better and better. But if you're just doing like a typical post-close campaign, again, you're sending kind of the same email to every person after they close a loan. And so you're probably hitting the mark on some, but you know, by nature, you're going to be missing the mark on some. But when you have something where it's giving them, you know, data on their home every month and is tied into AVMs and, you know, has the value increased or decreased since you bought your house, what might be the next loan for you? You know, now that person is invested in receiving that from you each month because you're telling them a story about them, about their asset, their home. You know, there's other.
Wait a second. You're saying that plays better than banana bread recipes. Okay.
I believe so too.
But, you know, if you send me the banana bread recipe, I'm probably going to make it this weekend. So, you know, but, you know,
so.
But I think everybody cares about, you know, this huge investment that they've made. So I think that's where, you know, the key is. Or, you know, another way what I look at, you know, like a monthly home report is to an investor that maybe this is a second home or this is an investment property that they're renting out. Do they necessarily care about the, you know, the banana bread recipe using that, you know, maybe or maybe not, but they for sure care how that, you know, that asset is appreciating. You know, some other, you know, things out there is even taking it further is, you know, now there's tools out there that allow you to even see and get notified when your borrowers have certain shopping activities, you know, whether it's just searching online or if it's they're, you know, they're going out and they're actually doing actionable items as it pertains to their credit, as it pertains to, you know, listing their homes, you know, as, you know, Sales Boomerang does. So I think those are the things where it really is then making sure that when you're reaching out and, you know, going back to that window that you and Alex were talking about, we've got this small window, we've only got so many at bats, you know, are we hitting them at the right time? You know, are we reaching out right as you just started to look up on Google searches refinance rates? Well, guess what? Now you're looking and we already have a relationship. And so before you get bombarded by the, you know, 25 other people that are probably monitoring the same thing, you already know me. And I remember, because I've got notes about your kid's birthday in my CRM, that now I'm reaching out in a much more, you know, direct way that pre-existing relationship that others aren't going to have. And so I think that's one of the keys there of leveraging those tools. And there's so many, you know, out there.
For sure. One of the ones, you know, what you're mentioning too is Jornaya has got those indicators as well to help that activity start the conversation. But you know what's really interesting? A couple things to say about here is, you know, if we really look forward and think about what would we like the lending experience to be like, I believe there's a future, and we're truly hoping to help build it this way. There's a future where you are scheduling the next loan conversation instead of waiting and reacting. And by the way, there's a big difference between reacting and responding, right? And that's something we can unpack in just a minute. But right now, there's a lot of reacting going on, right? When can we start planning, right? There transactions in this industry, and this industry that tries to avoid being transactional. The transactions that happen, what happens at the end of a transaction is we don't know what happens next. That's what the end of a transaction looks like. Congratulations, you got this great loan. It's a 30-year fix. You're living in this house now for 30 years with no changes. But that's not true, right? That's not true. We know that you're not going to have a 30-year loan without any changes, without a refinance, without any other activity, without any other purchases or anything like that. So I believe what we need to be thinking about as an entire industry, not just leaning on technology companies and hoping they solve it, but as an entire industry, what would we like? Let's think about this for a minute. And all other parts of our life, like I knew I had to be at this airport at this time. That was a plan. I know I have to go get my oil changed. That's a plan. I have that scheduled. I know I have to take my daughters to dance. That's a plan. It's a schedule. But for some reason, in this industry, maybe it's never been thought about, or we didn't think it was possible. But I think it is. I think if we as an industry start to think about what can we start to do with our borrowers at the moment that they take a loan? What happens next, and plan that out with them and be that lender for them. Then this conversation 10 years from now, if there's ever a situation where we have this kind of roller coaster event with super high refi and then dipping back and then picking back up on the purchase side, in 10 years, this could be a non-issue for those that are prepared, like you, Michael. At APM, you guys are ultra prepared. You have sequenced and nuanced everything as much as you can, which is why you invest in the best in the breed technologies, because everyone that you invest in is actually part of your existing vision. You just see those organizations fitting into your vision, right? You're not buying into their vision; they're fitting into your vision. And so, I throw this out there to this amazing group of people on this call. What would it look like if things were scheduled? Like, can you guys see that, like that type of world?
That would be the dream come true. I mean, because as you're describing, you need to be at the airport, you need to go do this. I'm imagining, like, wouldn't it be great if, like, the Uber that you needed just showed up at the right time to get you to the airport and you didn't even have to, I mean, it's like you start to think about what it could look like. And I do think that the consumer's starting to have more of an expectation, as we've all spent far more time on Amazon, probably over the past year and a half than we did in the prior mind. There is an expectation of, help me, like, just make it easier for me, just make the stuff show up. And so I think that's actually a really brilliant point about how we get intentional. So, Michael, I know we're getting thin on time, but I want to come back to you, Michael, for your thoughts before we let Alex close it off with responsiveness versus reactiveness, because I'm interested in that. So, Michael.
Yeah. I'm going to keep it short because I'm interested in that too. But I think it is really, we're seeing it in so many of the various industries where it is getting to where you can kind of expect what's next. You mentioned Amazon. I get a notification and it tells me your package is 10 stops away now. And why do they do that? Because people have packages that get stolen. So it's like, how do you plan to be home when your package is there? You almost have these scheduled delivery times, or at least know when it's about to show up. So I think that it's something that, we can really focus on, because if now you have these borrowers and, people that know, hey, in about 3 years, we're going to be ready for that next step for you, or, in 6 months, or whatever that looks like. Again, they're maybe less likely to be out looking at others, or, taking those phone calls, because guess what? Sue's already told me I've got about 6 months left. So, you can quit calling me because I've already got my plan in line with, my person, my planner. You're really becoming now the mortgage planner versus the loan officer.
Right.
And again, I know that they're all plays on words, but I think that planning aspect of it is going to be really important as we head and down further with technology.
I completely agree.
And look, think about this. Sorry, Sue, to jump in for a second. So Michael, to that point, planning is not just about going, hey, in 6 months you might be ready. Here, let's take it one step deeper for planning. Hey, Michael, when your equity is at 75 and we see your credit get to 700 and your tappable equity is at 35,000, that's when we do this. So you're not planning a date, you're planning an event, right? You're going, when these things happen. It seems, by the way the markets are looking and by the way that you're performing, Michael, right now, we're probably 4 to 6 months away. So how about this? I will keep you up to date. Every time you check a box, when I see your equity reach a certain level, I'm going to send you a note to say, hey, 1 out of 3 boxes are checked. We're still on track. Probably another 4 to 5 months to go. Oh, 3 months go by. Hey, congratulations. This part's on track, right? So now your tappable equity is where it needs to be. Fantastic. We're just waiting for the credit piece to be where it needs to be. Oh, if you do this one thing, Michael, your credit should be there. We might be able to cut off 2 months and get it done within the next 2 months instead of 3 months. If you can just take this thing off of your credit, and that's planning, right? Like literally putting out there what levers are going to need to be pulled for you to get this loan, and the benefit of it. Hey, when this happens, you're saving at $180 a month. And for that to happen, this lever needs to be pulled. And because we have the insights, we have the signals from the companies we just talked about, you can plan based on that insight rather than let's meet in 6 months and see. It's when we talk again, it's a loan, right? So you're and drives me to another real quick point. Loans are not something that ever need to be sold. This is a crazy thought, but wrap your mind around this. You don't have to sell a mortgage. People want what you have, right, Michael? Like people come, they want a mortgage. They are sad when they can't get it. Think about that. People are upset when they cannot get a mortgage. So you don't have to sell them on it. You just have to guide them through the process. That's the cool part about the industry we're in. Everyone wants what we have. We just have to make it easy for them. Just have to make it something that they can depend on and not something that they react to. So yep. Perfect segue. Perfect segue.
I will say, staying in touch, right? When you're talking about the largest asset that I would say most people own, unless you're a business owner or you have some, insane yacht, people's homes are usually their largest asset, largest financial transaction that they make. So I love this planning element that you're talking about, and again, really getting refocused on what does that look like for our businesses going forward, where you have the data, be there to talk about the thing that is probably somewhere in, the conscious of this person all of the time. So Alex, we're going to close on this note. Explain what you meant between being reactive and being responsive.
Yes. So you can react or you can respond. Most people react. I'll give you an example. This is going to have nothing to do with the mortgage industry, this example, this analogy. You're cooking and all of a sudden you get a grease fire. A reaction is screaming. A response is putting something on top of the fire. A reaction is screaming, oh my gosh, what's happening? A response is suffocating the fire by putting something on top of it. So what does this mean? Most people react. They go, oh, this is going to be, that's it. The mortgage, the refis are over. We need to, everything is moving to purchase. Well, that's a reaction. That's not a response. The truth is, refis are not gone. Refis will never be gone. Maybe the volume of refis will go down, but refis themselves won't be gone. So I don't know if you've seen this. I'm sure you all have this swing of the pendulum. It's like, oh, that's it. It's not an incremental. It's either this or that. That's a reaction. A response is planning for the change, planning for what is coming, right? So you can react, scream, or you can respond, plan, know what to do, have things in place. I can tell you right now, APM does not react. APM responds to everything that happens in the market, everything that happens internally. One of my favorite things that Michael and I talked about during the boom in 2020 was the amount of people that came into APM and the commitment that APM made to all the people that are there, that they're not here to support a wave. They are now part of the team, and they were committed. They were committed to making sure that those people are here as part of the team moving forward, and not just in a reaction to this amazing boom. And that is just a great example of the difference between reacting and responding. And Michael and the team at APM, you guys knock it out of the park with that.
Thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So guys, that wraps up our budgeted time for today. And it has been such a pleasure to have this conversation. This has been a lot of fun, super fast paced. I knew that it would. Hopefully your flight didn't leave without you, Alex. But I want to thank everybody who is listening today. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Michael. And hey, everybody out there, if you like what you heard, subscribe to the Mortgage Innovators podcast on YouTube, the YouTube channel, or wherever you choose to podcast. Until next time, thanks, everybody.